Simon Cowell dominated the music industry for decades by manufacturing global boy bands, but right now, he is facing his biggest reality check yet. From his recent confession about his ultimate career regret to the disastrous launch of his new boy band trying to take down K-pop, Simon is realizing he missed out on the greatest music phenomenon of the century. Here are the top 7 reasons that prove Simon Cowell's biggest regret is underestimating the power of a BTS member.
Number 7. The silver voice that broke the mold. Worldwide handsome strikes. Start with the Western boy band trope, because Simon Cowell's formula usually relies heavily on a very specific, tired archetype, the heartthrob whose main job is to look gorgeous on teenage bedroom posters, while the designated lead singer does all the heavy vocal lifting in the recording booth. It is a tale as old as time in the Western pop market, a heavily manufactured illusion designed for quick sales rather than artistic longevity. But then comes Kim Sok-jin, famously known across the globe as Jin of BTS, and completely rewrites the entire playbook. Did Simon ever, in his wildest dreams, anticipate a group where the so-called designated visual would also possess a pristine, silver, highly emotive voice capable of hitting mind-bending, gravity-defying high notes in sold-out stadiums from London's Wembley to LA's SoFi? Imagine the absolute shock when Western industry executives, accustomed to calculated and manufactured charm, encountered a man who introduces himself as worldwide handsome with such unapologetic confidence, devastating wit, and pure comedic timing that he instantly commands any room, from the prestigious Grammys red carpet to the solemn United Nations General Assembly. Jin isn't just a pretty face slapped onto a merchandise line. He is the crucial emotional anchor of BTS, a classically trained acting major from Konkuk University who brought profound theatricality and heartbreaking raw vulnerability to his sweeping solo tracks like Epiphany, Moon, and Awake, decisively proving that true, lasting artistry cannot be churned out in a rushed reality show boot camp. Cowell's traditional blueprint often dictates that the oldest member of a boy band slowly fades into the background as the younger, trendier members take the center spotlight. But Jin completely shattered this aging boy band myth by continuously evolving, eventually becoming a rock-solid vocal pillar who effortlessly carried some of the most challenging live performances in K-pop history, including his legendary triple high notes in the Japanese release Crystal Snow and his fierce, unyielding energy in the rock-heavy Dionysus. How could a Western mogul whose empire is built on quick viral moments and instant gratification comprehend the grueling, back-breaking dedication it takes for someone who originally joined Big Hit Entertainment purely to be an actor to practice singing and dancing day and night, bleeding sweat and tears behind closed doors just to catch up to his peers and ultimately become a legendary pop idol? The sheer magnitude of Jin's journey from a naive, street-casted college student exiting a bus to a global superstar who easily broke international charts with tracks like The Astronaut, a poignant cinematic masterpiece co-written and gifted by Coldplay, a legendary band that Simon's manufactured acts could only dream of collaborating on such an equal, deeply respectful footing, highlights a catastrophic miscalculation by Western music producers. They arrogantly thought boy bands were just a temporary, superficial craze for screaming teenagers, an easily replicable and disposable phase, completely missing the foundational fact that Jin's undeniable charm is backed by a deeply authentic, hilariously chaotic, yet profoundly caring personality that binds the 7 members together like true blood brothers. You simply cannot fake that kind of organic, familial chemistry on a television talent show, no matter how much dramatic editing or sob story manipulation you use. When Jin bravely became the first member to enlist in the mandatory South Korean military, the world didn't move on to the next shiny new group as the fast-paced Western industry expected. Instead, millions of fans waited with bated breath, streaming his songs, trending his name globally, and proving a massive testament to a legacy that transcends cheap pop thrills and artificial hype. Isn't it agonizing for industry titans to realize they missed out on a multifaceted talent who seamlessly blends elite vocal prowess with world-class variety show-level entertainment skills? Jin's unique ability to transition in a split second from delivering a tear-jerking, soul-piercing high note while playing the piano to making an entire stadium of 80,000 people erupt in deafening laughter by pulling a hidden crumpled paper heart out of his pocket is a rare, irreplaceable magic that defies every single rigid rule Cowell ever wrote for boy band commercial success. Think about it deeply. How many Western pop groups have a member who can single-handedly trend worldwide on Twitter for hours just for stepping out of a car door, affectionately dubbed the car door guy, yet still command the utmost undeniable respect from harsh music critics for his raw vocal stability during the most rigorous, breath-stealing choreographies? The harsh reality is that Cowell's empire was fundamentally built on the concept of disposable pop, creating stars meant to burn bright and fade fast, while Jin and his 6 brothers were busy carefully constructing an indestructible, bulletproof legacy built on sincerity, grueling hard work, and an unbreakable symbiotic bond with their fans. His silver voice and broad shoulders carry the weight of a monumental cultural shift that the West was entirely too blind to see coming. As we dive deeper into this explosive, mind-blowing countdown, you have to ask yourself, if the oldest member alone packs enough star power, vocal talent, and magnetic charisma to rival and outshine any top-tier Western solo artist, what kind of unstoppable, industry-shaking monsters are the rest of the members? The truth is hiding in plain sight, and the regret is only going to get heavier, darker, and more undeniable as we uncover the next piece of this legendary puzzle. Are you ready to see how the next member completely dismantled the Western hip-hop and leadership stereotype, leaving producers scrambling for answers? Stay tuned and brace yourself, because the storm is just getting started, and the facts we are about to reveal will change everything you thought you knew about the music industry.
Number 6. The underground genius, the uncompromising soul of Daegu's Min Yoongi. When you look at the highly polished, meticulously manicured empire that Simon Cowell spent decades building through shows like The X Factor and America's Got Talent, you see a very specific, rigid formula. Performers are handed a song written by a committee of invisible Swedish hitmakers, told exactly how to dress by corporate stylists, and instructed precisely where to stand on a stage flooded with artificial pyrotechnics. It is a sterile, top-down corporate machine where the artist is often treated as a replaceable shiny cog, rather than a living, breathing creator with something profound to say to the world. But then you look at Min Yoongi, universally known to millions of roaring fans as Suga of BTS, or his fiercely independent alter ego August D, and you instantly realize why traditional Western music moguls are left scratching their heads in absolute disbelief and deep professional regret. Suga represents everything the traditional Western pop industry is completely terrified of, an uncompromising, self-produced underground rap genius who refuses to be tamed, packaged, or diluted for mass corporate consumption. Long before he ever stepped foot into the shiny world of global pop, Yoongi was a broke, starving teenager grinding in the gritty underground hip-hop scene of Daegu, South Korea, performing under the name Gloss for audiences that sometimes numbered fewer than 10 people, scraping together pennies just to choose between buying a cheap bowl of noodles or taking a long bus ride home in the freezing cold. This wasn't a kid who walked onto a television stage with a perfect smile and a ready-made sob story to charm a panel of wealthy celebrity judges. This was a hardened, fiercely resilient artist who fought tooth and nail against poverty, parental disapproval, and severe mental health struggles just to keep his musical dream alive. When he auditioned for Big Hit Entertainment, he didn't even intend to become a dancing idol. He joined primarily as a music producer and rapper, having been promised by the agency's founder that he wouldn't have to perform intense choreography, a hilarious historical irony, considering he went on to execute some of the most complex, physically demanding dance routines in modern pop history. Cowell's traditional pop model completely falls apart when faced with an artist of Suga's specific caliber, because you cannot control someone who writes their own narrative, constructs their own heavy sonic landscapes, and lays their bare, unfiltered soul out for the world to judge. While Western pop groups were singing superficial tracks about summer love and weekend parties, Suga was locked away in his dark, cramped studio room affectionately named Genius Lab, obsessively pouring his deepest agonies, anxieties, and societal critiques into raw, earth-shattering lyrics. Think about the sheer emotional weight of his legendary mixtape tracks where he openly discussed his battle with social anxiety, depression, and the devastating shoulder injury he suffered during a pre-debut accident while working as a hidden delivery boy just to pay his tuition fees. A severe injury he hid from his company out of sheer terror that he would be kicked out of the group. This level of brutal, visceral honesty is something a manufactured TV show could never cultivate or simulate. Simon Cowell's biggest regret is underestimating the fact that global audiences in the modern era no longer want plastic, perfect illusions. They crave the rugged, authentic truth that Suga delivers in every single bar he spits. The absolute peak of this industry-shaking reality check came when Suga released his solo masterpiece Daichwita under his August D moniker, seamlessly blending traditional Korean military music with aggressive, futuristic trap beats, creating a cinematic and cultural phenomenon that completely conquered international music charts without a single dollar of traditional Western radio promotion. And the defiance didn't stop there. While Simon's manufactured groups historically fragmented and faded away the moment members attempted to go solo, Suga embarked on a massive, record-breaking solo stadium and arena tour across the globe, selling out massive venues in the United States and Asia entirely on his own merits, commanding the stage with nothing but a microphone, a piano, and an unstoppable roaring fire of raw talent. He proved decisively that a member of BTS isn't just a pop star, but a world-class elite producer and master storyteller who can collaborate on an equal footing with industry titans ranging from the legendary American singer Halsey to the K-pop pioneer Psy, producing massive global hits that effortlessly bridge generations and genres. For a mogul like Cowell, who relies on owning the publishing rights and controlling the creative output of his artists, watching a self-made genius like Min Yoongi retain total artistic autonomy while building a multi-million-dollar empire must be the ultimate professional wake-up call. Suga completely dismantled the outdated Western stereotype that Asian artists are merely manufactured performers lacking true hip-hop credibility or deep creative control, cementing himself as a legendary musical architect whose influence will be felt for decades to come. As we move closer to the absolute top of this gripping countdown, the realization becomes overwhelmingly clear. Every single member of this group possesses an individual artistic depth so profound that it makes the entire traditional Western music industry look incredibly shallow and woefully outdated. Get ready, because the next member we discuss is going to show you exactly how BTS turned a global dance floor into a revolutionary weapon of pure joy and unmatched performance art.
Number 5. The street dance legend, the unrivaled stage general, Jungkook. When you examine the historical blueprint of Western boy bands crafted by industry moguls like Simon Cowell, the concept of a dancer is often reduced to someone who can loosely follow basic synchronized pop choreography while smiling charmingly at the front row cameras. In that rigid corporate ecosystem, dance is merely a decorative backdrop, a superficial layer added at the very end of production to make a pop song look visually appealing on a television screen. But when you look at Jungkook, universally revered by millions as J-Hope, the main dancer, dance captain, and radiant sunshine of BTS, you instantly realize why the traditional Western music industry is left completely stunned and full of profound professional regret. J-Hope completely dismantles the outdated notion of what a boy band performer can be, transforming the stage into a battleground of pure, unfiltered performance art and technical perfection that no reality show boot camp could ever replicate in a lifetime. Long before he ever walked into the studios of Big Hit Entertainment, Hoseok was already a legendary name in the underground street dance scene of Gwangju, South Korea, winning national battles with his renowned dance crew Neuron, mastering complex styles from popping and locking to high-intensity street dance. He wasn't a kid who learned how to move just to pass a commercial audition. He was an authentic, deeply respected subculture dancer who lived, breathed, and sweated the rhythm of the streets from a very young age.
When he joined the group, he undertook the monumental task of transitioning from a pure dancer into an elite, world-class rapper and lyricist, showing a level of artistic adaptability that is virtually non-existent in manufactured pop groups. What makes Cowell's biggest regret so painfully clear is the realization that J-Hope became the literal backbone of BTS's legendary performance standards, earning the fearsome yet highly respected title of Team Leader Jung in the practice room. While Western producers rely on external, highly paid choreographers to whip their groups into shape, BTS had J-Hope, a fierce perfectionist who would spend agonizing, grueling hours under the harsh studio lights, memorizing every single micro-movement, adjusting the angles of his members' arms down to the exact millimeter, and ensuring that their synchronization was absolute, bulletproof, and utterly terrifying in its precision. You cannot manufacture that level of internal leadership or artistic discipline on a television program because it requires an organic, deep-seated mutual respect that only comes from years of shared struggle and brotherhood. The true, earth-shattering magnitude of J-Hope's individual star power was put on full global display when he made history as the absolute first South Korean artist to ever headline a major American music festival at Lollapalooza, drawing a record-breaking crowd of over 100,000 screaming fans to the main stage, an iconic moment affectionately dubbed Hobie-Palooza by the global music industry. On that historic night, J-Hope commanded the massive stage entirely on his own for over an hour, delivering a raw, theatrical, and deeply complex performance that seamlessly transitioned from the dark alternative hip-hop beats of his solo album, Jack in the Box, to high-energy, explosive dance breaks that left seasoned American music critics completely speechless. For a mogul like Cowell, who has spent decades trying to engineer groups that can capture the elusive American market, watching a single member of BTS effortlessly command a massive US festival crowd with pure theatricality, immense charisma, and total artistic autonomy must be a devastating pill to swallow. J-Hope proved decisively that he is not just a member of a popular group, but a world-class visionary, a master of performance who can curate his own sonic identity, direct his own massive stage productions, and honor his roots through deep cultural projects like his documentary series Hope on the Street, which explored the global street dance community from Seoul to Paris and New York. His unique ability to effortlessly blend high-fashion conceptual art with raw, rugged hip-hop credibility completely shatters the narrow, outdated Western perception of pop idols, establishing him as an irreplaceable musical architect whose influence stretches far beyond the boundaries of traditional pop music. How agonizing must it be for traditional music executives to watch J-Hope seamlessly transition from a military uniform back to the absolute pinnacle of the global fashion and music industries, his star power shining brighter than ever without losing a single ounce of his trademark humility and joy. J-Hope's radiant energy is backed by a fierce, uncompromising artistic work ethic that defines the very soul of BTS's global revolution. As we edge closer to the peak of this intense, mind-blowing countdown, the reality becomes completely undeniable. Every single member of this group is a self-contained powerhouse, an elite force capable of rewriting music history entirely on their own terms. Brace yourself, because the next member we discuss will show you exactly how a single voice can bridge continents, break records, and leave the entire Western pop machinery completely desperate for answers.
Number 4. The architect of the empire, the unbreakable intellectual leader, Kim Namjoon. When you look at the historical trajectory of manufactured Western boy bands designed by industry titans like Simon Cowell, the concept of a true unifying leader is practically non-existent. In the traditional rigid Simon Cowell blueprint, groups are hastily assembled from television auditions, and if there happens to be a designated frontman, it is usually just the member who sings the most pop solos, fits a specific heartthrob aesthetic, or receives the loudest, most immediate screams from teenage fans.
There is absolutely no underlying philosophical core or cohesive intellectual vision holding these manufactured groups together, which is exactly why they almost always fracture, implode, and bitterly break apart the very moment one member decides they want a larger share of the commercial spotlight or a solo career. But then you look directly at Kim Namjoon, universally known and immensely respected as RM, the towering, fiercely intellectual leader of BTS, and you instantly understand the monumental billion-dollar mistake the Western music industry made by completely underestimating the unmatched power of a true organic musical architect. RM isn't just a shiny pop star performing rehearsed routines. He is the literal, unbreakable foundation upon which the entire BTS empire was painstakingly built. Long before the sold-out stadium tours across America and the historic Grammy nominations, he was a highly respected, battle-tested underground rapper, fiercely grinding in the South Korean hip-hop scene under the moniker Runched Randa, a certified prodigy with an officially recorded IQ of 148, who was so incredibly gifted with words and rhythm that the visionary founder of Big Hit Entertainment, Bang Si-hyuk, boldly decided to scrap his original agency plans and build an entire global hip-hop group exclusively around this one brilliant teenage genius. Can you possibly imagine a reality television judge ever having the patience, the deep artistic foresight, or the profound respect to build a massive global project around the raw, unfiltered intellect of a single underground poet? Absolutely not. Simon Cowell's entire pop empire relies heavily on hiring armies of external, highly paid ghostwriters and Scandinavian pop producers to blindly churn out generic, easily digestible radio hits about weekend parties and superficial heartbreak. In stark, earth-shattering contrast, RM serves as the primary lyricist, producer, and philosophical mastermind behind BTS's most critically acclaimed work, seamlessly and brilliantly weaving incredibly complex concepts from Carl Jung's deep analytical psychology into the multi-platinum Map of the Soul series, or directly drawing heavy emotional thematic inspiration from Hermann Hesse's classic literature Damien for their legendary, record-breaking Wings album. RM single-handedly elevated the boy band genre from simple, disposable commercial entertainment into a highly respected, profoundly complex form of global contemporary art that demands serious academic analysis. But his staggering genius doesn't just stop at his unmatched prolific songwriting abilities. His role as a leader is perhaps the most crucial, irreplaceable element that Simon Cowell could never, ever replicate, no matter how many millions of dollars he desperately pours into his new, heavily criticized reality TV project, December 10. When BTS first began aggressively breaking into the notoriously impenetrable, often deeply xenophobic Western music market, they faced a massive, terrifying language barrier and extremely condescending, sometimes downright disrespectful media landscapes. It was RM who famously and incredibly taught himself fluent conversational English simply by repeatedly watching DVDs of the American sitcom Friends, who bravely stepped up to become the unbreakable shield and the eloquent diplomatic voice for his 6 brothers. He navigated incredibly hostile, patronizing interviews with a level of grace, devastating wit, and supreme diplomatic intelligence that left seasoned Western journalists completely speechless, entirely preventing the group from ever being boxed in or dismissed as a mere foreign novelty act. Think deeply about the sheer, unparalleled magnitude of a boy band leader standing confidently at the prestigious podium of the United Nations General Assembly, delivering the highly moving, historically significant Speak Yourself speech flawlessly in a second language, eloquently advocating for global youth empowerment, radical self-love, and identity acceptance, while wearing a sharp suit and commanding the absolute, undivided respect of powerful world leaders and international diplomats. That iconic, paradigm-shifting moment proved once and for all that RM had completely transcended the narrow, restrictive boundaries of the pop music industry to become a legitimate, deeply respected global ambassador for an entire generation. Meanwhile, traditional Western music executives are still desperately trying to manufacture cheap, viral TikTok moments for their newly formed teenage groups, completely oblivious to the undeniable fact that true, lasting cultural impact requires a genuine intellectual soul
Soul at the helm. The sheer emotional weight RM carries on his broad shoulders is absolutely staggering. He constantly and willingly sacrifices his own personal spotlight, always pushing his younger members to the forefront of the stage, translating for them in real time, guiding them safely through the intense, crushing pressure of global fame, and meticulously ensuring that their brotherhood remains absolutely unbreakable, even in the face of unprecedented wealth and chaotic industry corruption. When he released his deeply introspective solo masterpiece, Indigo, and later the critically acclaimed, sonically experimental Right Place, Wrong Person, he completely laid bare his intense internal struggles, his profound artistic duality, and the suffocating, crushing pressure of being the spokesperson for millions of fans worldwide, proving to the world that he is not a manufactured perfect idol, but a deeply flawed, highly relatable, and breathtakingly brilliant human being who bleeds and hurts just like the rest of us. Simon Cowell's ultimate agonizing regret has to be the crushing realization that you simply cannot cast or manufacture a Kim Namjoon. You cannot place an advertisement in a newspaper or hold a heavily edited televised audition and expect to discover a towering intellectual giant who possesses the rugged street credibility of a fierce underground rapper, the lyrical, sensitive soul of a seasoned philosopher, and the selfless, unconditional love of a true leader, capable of guiding 7 young men from a cramped, dusty dorm room in Seoul to the absolute pinnacle of global music history. RM is the undisputed brain of the operation, a visionary architect whose sheer existence completely nullifies the outdated, factory-line approach to creating music stars, leaving traditional executives completely obsolete. As we hurtle towards the final 3 members of this explosive, industry-shaking countdown, the reality becomes almost too heavy to bear for the traditional music moguls who missed the boat. Are you ready to see how the next member completely redefined the global standard for vocal agility and mesmerizing, gravity-defying stage presence, leaving elite vocal coaches and dancers around the world completely and utterly stunned? Keep your eyes glued to the screen, because the undeniable facts we're about to drop will shatter every single illusion you ever had about the pop music industry.
Number 3. The ethereal modern dance prodigy, the record-breaking revolution of Park Jimin. When you examine the conventional Western boy band archetype that Simon Cowell spent decades mass-producing for global television audiences, you see a glaringly obvious reliance on basic, comfortable stage presence, where members merely walk around a stage, point at cameras, and look classically handsome to induce high-pitched screams from the front rows. In that highly formulaic corporate music ecosystem, there is absolutely no room for true high art performance, advanced contemporary choreography, or an artist who completely blurs the rigid boundaries of gender, dance, and vocal agility to create a mesmerizing, hypnotic experience on stage. But when you look directly at Park Jimin, universally revered by millions as the ethereal, gravity-defying main dancer and lead vocalist of BTS, you instantly witness the exact moment Simon Cowell's traditional pop blueprint became completely obsolete and deeply filled with professional regret. Jimin represents a level of elite, world-class artistry that you cannot simply scout from a shopping mall or engineer through a standard 3-minute reality TV audition, because his entire foundation is rooted in a lifetime of intense artistic discipline, raw emotional vulnerability, and a terrifyingly rigorous work ethic. Long before he ever stepped foot into the grueling world of global K-pop training, Jimin was already an absolute prodigy in his hometown of Busan, South Korea, remarkably entering the prestigious Busan High School of Arts as the top student across the entire dance department, a historic, unprecedented achievement for someone specializing in contemporary modern dance. Can you possibly imagine a traditional Western pop mogul understanding the sheer depth of training required for a young boy to master the intricate, fluid, and soul-bearing movements of modern contemporary dance, only to completely uproot his life and move to a cramped studio in Seoul to learn a completely foreign style of sharp, aggressive hip-hop idol choreography?
When Jimin officially joined Big Hit Entertainment as the absolute last member to enter the lineup, he faced a massive, terrifying wall of pressure, possessing the shortest training period of the entire group and constantly facing the threat of being cut from the final roster a staggering 8 separate times because his deeply ingrained modern dance habits initially clashed heavily with the sharp, rigid angles of street hip-hop. But instead of breaking under the immense, crushing weight of uncertainty, Jimin unleashed a legendary, almost superhuman work ethic that became a core part of BTS's folklore, obsessively practicing in the dark, mirrored dance studios until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, sleeping for a mere 2 hours on a cold floor before waking straight back up to attend school, pushing his physical body to the absolute limits of human endurance just to ensure he could match the elite performance standards of his brothers. This level of visceral, agonizing dedication is something a manufactured television show could never cultivate or simulate in a million years, because it requires an internal, burning passion that money cannot buy. The earth-shattering magnitude of Jimin's unique artistic weapon was truly unleashed when he introduced the world to his solo masterpieces like Lie and Serendipity, tracks where he completely laid bare his internal psychological struggles, fears, and profound emotional evolution, performing with an intense, raw theatricality that left seasoned global music critics completely breathless as he spun, leapt, and floated across massive stadium stages completely blindfolded. Who could ever forget his legendary viral solo contemporary stage at the 2019 Melon Music Awards, where he danced gracefully in a flowing white silken outfit to traditional instrumentation, completely stopping time and commanding the attention of the entire global music industry with nothing but the pure, unadulterated poetry of his physical movement. But the ultimate jaw-dropping reality check for Western music executives came when Jimin officially launched his solo career and shattered a historic, decades-old barrier by becoming the absolute first South Korean solo artist in history to hit #1 on the fiercely competitive Billboard Hot 100 chart with his synth-pop masterpiece, Like Crazy, achieving this monumental feat entirely on his own merit without a massive traditional Western radio promotional campaign behind him. For a mogul like Simon Cowell, who has spent his entire career trying to engineer acts that can successfully conquer the lucrative American charts through traditional gatekeeping methods, watching a single member of BTS effortlessly make global music history with his own self-composed, highly artistic solo album must be a deeply devastating realization of a massive missed opportunity. Jimin completely dismantled the narrow, outdated Western perception that boy band members are merely disposable, interchangeable products, proving instead that he is a world-class cultural icon, a fashion trailblazer who effortlessly commands the global high fashion industry as a prominent ambassador for elite luxury brands like Dior and Tiffany & Co., and a master performer whose distinctive, silky countertenor vocal register brings a haunting, unforgettable emotional depth to global hits like Blood, Sweat and Tears and Black Swan. How agonizing must it be for traditional music executives to watch Jimin continuously break streaming records, his massive solo tracks effortlessly surpassing billions of streams worldwide, all while maintaining a completely genuine, deeply humble, and incredibly affectionate relationship with millions of fans who fiercely protect his legacy. The harsh reality is that Simon Cowell's empire was fundamentally built on temporary, easily replaceable pop illusions, whereas Jimin stands as a permanent, legendary monument of artistic perfection, a transcendent force who proved that a combination of elite classical dance training, an ethereal vocal identity, and a tireless, bleeding work ethic can completely conquer the entire global music landscape on its own terms. As we rapidly approach the absolute top spots of this explosive countdown, the realization becomes completely and utterly undeniable. The sheer individual star power contained within this group is unlike anything the world has ever seen before. Get ready, because the next member we discuss possesses a deep, soul-stirring vocal tone and a cinematic aura so profoundly captivating that it completely rewrote the rules of global visual storytelling, leaving the entire Western pop machinery utterly desperate for answers.
Number 2. The baritone soul of an old-school jazz legend, the unmatchable cinematic eclipse of Kim Taehyung. When you scrutinize the rigid, paint-by-numbers commercial empire that Simon Cowell constructed over decades of dominant television programming, you quickly see a highly predictable vocal standard where every single male pop group is strictly required to feature bright, high-pitched tenors who belt out safe, heavily auto-tuned radio hooks designed to blend seamlessly into background noise. In that highly commercialized assembly line pop ecosystem, there is absolutely zero room for a deep, rich, gravelly baritone voice, let alone an artist who is deeply obsessed with old-school jazz, classical trumpet, vintage soulful melodies, and obscure indie cinema. But when you look directly into the striking, piercing eyes of Kim Taehyung, universally celebrated by billions of devoted fans as the mesmerizing, deeply soulful V of BTS, you instantly witness the exact moment Simon Cowell's traditional pop playbook was completely turned upside down and filled with intense professional regret. V represents an absolute anomaly in the modern pop world, a breathtakingly unique artist whose star power cannot be simulated or manufactured in a rushed reality TV boot camp because his entire artistic identity is rooted in an old-school, romantic sincerity that completely defies the fast-paced, digital nature of the modern music industry. Long before he ever became a global fashion icon commanding the front rows of Paris Fashion Week or a record-breaking solo powerhouse, Taehyung was just a humble, free-spirited boy growing up in the countryside of Gyeongsang with a family of farmers, dreaming of becoming a saxophone player simply because his father told him that a true musician must master an instrument. He didn't even initially intend to audition for Big Hit Entertainment. He merely accompanied his close friend to an open audition in Daegu to offer moral support, only to be spotted by a sharp talent scout who desperately pleaded with his parents to let him try out, leading to him becoming the absolute only person from the entire city to pass that day. Can you possibly imagine a traditional Western pop mogul ever understanding the poetic beauty of a hidden weapon? Considering that Taehyung was kept completely under wraps as the highly mysterious hidden member of BTS before their official debut, hidden away from cameras and vlogs for months while his 6 brothers interacted with the growing fandom, creating an agonizing yet genius layer of mystique that made the world instantly fall in love with him the very moment he was finally revealed to the public. The sheer shockwaves V sent through the global music industry are deeply profound because he completely shattered the outdated idea that pop idols must possess a narrow, high-pitched vocal range, instead introducing a deep, velvet, soul-stirring baritone register that carries a heavy, cinematic, emotional weight in legendary tracks like Stigma, Singularity, and his beautifully tragic solo release, Inner Child. When V steps onto a massive stadium stage under the glowing purple lights, he doesn't just sing a pop song, he completely transforms the space into a high-art theatrical performance, using his legendary unmatched facial acting, sharp micro-expressions, and slow, deliberate movements to hold 80,000 screaming fans completely hostage in the palm of his hand, a rare and hypnotic stage presence that has made him the ultimate textbook role model for thousands of rookie idols across the global entertainment industry who spend countless hours meticulously studying his performance videos. But the ultimate, mind-blowing reality check for traditional Western music executives came when V officially launched his highly anticipated solo debut album Layover, where he completely rejected the easy, mainstream pop trends of the era and instead chose to release a deeply personal, lo-fi jazz and R&B-infused masterpiece that perfectly showcased his raw, unfiltered love for vintage jazz saxophone, slow-burning soul melodies, and intimate acoustic sounds, completely conquering international charts and breaking massive sales records without compromising a single ounce of his distinct personal taste. For a mogul like Cowell, whose entire commercial model relies heavily on forcing artists to record generic, high-energy pop bangers written by corporate hitmaker committees, watching a single
single member of BTS make global music history with an old-school jazz-inspired solo album must be a deeply devastating realization of how wildly out of touch the traditional Western industry has truly become. V completely dismantled the narrow, shallow perception that pop stars are merely interchangeable temporary faces, proving instead that he is a world-class cultural icon, a cinematic visionary who creates his own deeply moving visual narratives in self-composed masterpieces like Scenery and Winter Bear, and a dominant global force who effortlessly commands the high fashion universe as an esteemed ambassador for elite luxury houses like Celine and Cartier, causing instant international sellouts of high-end jewelry and clothing the very second he is photographed wearing them. How agonizing must it be for traditional music gatekeepers to watch Kim Taehyung seamlessly break historic barriers on the American charts, becoming the first South Korean artist to debut a solo soundtrack track like Christmas Tree directly on the fiercely competitive Billboard Hot 100 chart, all while remaining an intensely genuine, wonderfully eccentric, and deeply loving human being who fiercely protects the sacred brotherhood of his 6 brothers. The harsh truth is that Simon Cowell's empire was fundamentally built on temporary, easily manufactured commercial illusions, whereas Kim Taehyung stands as a permanent, legendary monument of timeless artistic soul, a transcendent force who proved that a combination of a deep, velvet baritone voice, a cinematic visual aura, and an unyielding devotion to authentic musical heritage can completely conquer the entire global music landscape on its own beautiful terms. As we finally approach the absolute #1 spot of this explosive, historic countdown, the realization becomes completely overwhelming. Are you ready to witness how the absolute final member completely revolutionized the definition of a global all-rounder, rewriting every single record in modern music history and leaving the entire Western pop machinery utterly powerless? Stay completely focused, because the final revelation will change everything you thought you knew about global superstardom.
Number 1. The Golden Maknae, the ultimate global pop weapon, Jungkook. When you finally reach the absolute pinnacle of this historic, industry-shaking countdown, you come face to face with the ultimate, undeniable reason why Simon Cowell's traditional manufactured pop empire is completely crumbling, and his name is Jungkook, globally revered by millions as the Golden Maknae of BTS and the undisputed most formidable pop weapon the modern music industry has ever seen. If you look at the classic Western boy band blueprint, the formula is aggressively simple. You find one decent lead singer, surround him with a few backup dancers, manufacture a catchy chorus, and hope the fabricated chemistry translates well on television. But how do traditional music executives even begin to comprehend or compete with an artist like Jungkook, a once-in-a-generation prodigy who is simultaneously an elite main vocalist capable of hitting flawless, breathtaking high notes while running full speed across a stadium stage, a terrifyingly precise lead dancer who executes razor-sharp choreography with the explosive power of a professional athlete, a charismatic center who commands the camera with lethal precision, and a self-taught video director who shoots, edits, and produces his own stunning cinematic travelogues. The sheer terrifying magnitude of Jungkook's natural talent is so overwhelming that it makes the entire factory line approach to creating pop stars look absolutely amateurish. Long before he was standing at the absolute peak of the global music industry, Jungkook was just a shy, incredibly timid 15-year-old from Busan who auditioned for the South Korean reality show Superstar K. While he didn't win the show, his raw, unpolished audition tape sparked a massive, cutthroat bidding war among the top entertainment agencies in the country, resulting in him receiving frantic scouting offers from 7
7 different major companies. In a move that completely altered the course of music history, this highly sought-after prodigy rejected the massive wealthy corporations and chose to sign with Big Hit Entertainment, a completely unknown, nearly bankrupt agency on the verge of total collapse, simply because he was absolutely mesmerized by the underground rapping skills of Kim Namjoon. Can you imagine a reality show contestant turning down guaranteed fame just to follow the artistic vision of an underground poet? That profound, unbreakable loyalty is the very foundation of the BTS empire, and it is a level of authentic, organic brotherhood that Simon Cowell could never manufacture, no matter how many millions he pours into his new, heavily criticized television projects. When Jungkook debuted, he was so painfully shy that he would wait until all of his 6 older brothers were fast asleep before sneaking into the bathroom to shower, terrified of being seen. Yet he was immediately thrust into the unimaginably heavy role of being the absolute center and main vocalist of a hip-hop group trying to survive in a fiercely competitive, brutal industry. He carried that crushing, suffocating weight on his young shoulders with a quiet, fierce determination, famously crying his eyes out on a television broadcast, not because he was physically exhausted from their grueling 18-hour practice sessions, but simply because watching his older brothers struggle emotionally was the only thing that truly broke his heart. It is exactly this kind of raw, bleeding empathy and deep emotional connection that built an impenetrable billion-dollar phenomenon around BTS, creating a massive, fiercely protective fan loyalty that Western pop groups can only dream of ever achieving. The ultimate devastating reality check for the Western music establishment came when Jungkook officially unleashed his solo era upon the world, completely rewriting the history books and shattering records that were previously held by the biggest names in American pop. His debut solo single, 7, became an absolute global meteor, completely dominating the Billboard Hot 100 at #1 and officially breaking the Guinness World Record as the fastest song in the entire history of Spotify to surpass 1 billion streams, leaving massive Western superstars completely in the dust. He didn't need a manufactured reality show to introduce him to the world. He stood entirely alone on the massive global stage of the FIFA World Cup opening ceremony in Qatar, performing his soaring anthem Dreamers with the flawless, magnetic stage presence of a seasoned pop giant, becoming the first South Korean artist in history to ever achieve such a monumental feat. When he released his critically acclaimed solo album Golden, he proved to the entire industry that he isn't just a member of a K-pop group. He is the definitive, quintessential global pop star of the 21st century, effortlessly collaborating with Western hitmakers while completely retaining his own unique, authentic identity. Think about his legendary, breathtaking live performances in the heart of Times Square or on the American morning show circuit, where he sang completely live, executing intense, breath-stealing choreography with the pristine vocal stability of a studio recording, leaving veteran American music critics and seasoned vocal coaches absolutely stunned. For a traditional mogul like Simon Cowell, watching a single self-made artist effortlessly dominate the global charts, break unimaginable streaming records, and command a massive, fiercely loyal international fandom must be the ultimate agonizing realization that the old rules of the music industry are completely dead and buried. Jungkook completely dismantled the Western illusion that Asian artists cannot become mainstream global pop icons, proving instead that when you combine God-given, once-in-a-century talent with a relentless, bleeding work ethic and an unconditionally pure heart, you become an absolutely unstoppable force of nature. He is the ultimate prize that the Western industry completely missed out on, the golden standard that every single new pop group is desperately and failing to replicate. As we wrap up this historic, mind-blowing journey through the monumental legacy of BTS, the facts remain fiercely undeniable. Simon Cowell's biggest, most painful regret isn't just missing out on a highly successful boy band, but failing completely to recognize that these 7 brothers were a massive, unprecedented cultural revolution that completely reshaped the entire global music landscape forever, proving that true art and brotherhood will always conquer manufactured fame.
And there you have it, the absolute, undeniable truth behind the music industry's biggest missed opportunity. Simon Cowell spent an entire lifetime trying to crack the code to permanent global superstardom, meticulously manufacturing groups in boardrooms and reality television studios, only to watch completely helplessly as 7 young, fiercely authentic men from South Korea organically took over the entire planet. From Jin's silver vocals and Suga's uncompromising underground grit to J-Hope's street dance supremacy, RM's towering intellectual leadership, Jimin's ethereal contemporary artistry, V's soul-stirring cinematic aura, and finally, Jungkook's god-tier golden perfection, BTS proved once and for all that you simply cannot manufacture true brotherhood, and you definitely cannot fake genuine musical passion. The X Factor era is officially over, and the BTS phenomenon remains an untouched, unbreakable global standard, leaving the traditional music moguls forever trapped in the shadow of their biggest, most permanent regret.